guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Danielle and I am the owner of Damn Fancy Creations. If you guys are new to my channel, I do want to let you know that you can catch my content in two other places. I have a large tutorial group on Facebook and I have a smaller, more personalized patron group where I offer exclusive discounts, free files, and group challenges each month. If that sounds like something that would interest you guys, I will link both of those groups in the description so you guys can check them out. For today's tutorial, this was one of those tumblers that kind of came together as I was creating it. I have been using these spray paints a lot lately. The silver lilac, vintage blush, pinks, cream colors. I use these colors for my dusty pumpkin floral swirl tumbler, and I have used them for several others since then. I use these a lot during summer, but I thought that they kind of translated really nicely into those girly fall colors versus the typical orange, reds, browns that we may see a lot. So I wanted to use these again, and I'm really happy with how these turned out. This tumbler is technically a cheat method tumbler. We are going to spray paint our tumbler different colors and then just use one glitter over the entire cup. I actually kind of came up with this tumbler for a lady that I was helping with her tumbler journey, and I'm trying to find different techniques or different tumblers that are super simple, that really don't have a whole lot of steps to them, but they still turn out beautiful, just to help maybe some of the new tumbler makers out there and show you guys that it doesn't take 100 steps to get to a really pretty tumbler. You can make a beautiful tumbler in just a few steps, and then the more confident that you get, you can go back and add different things to the tumbler or add different techniques and kind of grow your tumbler journey along the way. So if you guys are ready to see how I created this fun striped fall tumbler, let's get started. Alright, so first things first, we're going to start with a prepped tumbler, spray painted white. We're going to need some painter's tape, and then whatever paint colors you want to use. I am using vintage blush, silver lilac, and rustic pink. I love these colors. Currently there is a paint shortage, so some of these colors may be hard to find, but I did substitute some light creamy beige colors for some of the tumblers I did this way, and they turned out super pretty. So for starters, once your spray paint is 100% dry, your base coat, we're going to tape around the tumbler with 1-inch painter's tape. If you guys have watched my spray painted plaid tutorial, I will link that now for you. I start that tumbler the exact same way. So we're just going to wrap a few pieces, one right after the other. And I stack my painter's tape basically just to get good evenly spaced lines all the way down the tumbler. And the second piece will always be the spacer. So we're going to peel that one off and then place it directly below the last piece of tape that you added to the cup. And then we're going to peel the other middle piece of tape. and place it below that one. And then we will remove that piece of tape. And for the last one, I just kind of eyeballed it. We weren't going to have a full stripe just because the tumbler height did not allow for that. But we can at least make one set of stripes the same. And once you get all your tape on there, I smooth it down really well, just because we don't want any paint dripping in between the paint lines. We want a nice, good seal for that painter's tape to the tumbler. And then we will be ready to spray paint. So here are some of my pets. This is my corgi Birdie and the deer family that I feed every single day. These are the paint colors I'm using that we went over earlier. You do not have to use the same ones I am. I just picked two that I really liked. I like to start with the middle color, which is the medium tone that we're going to be using. And I spray the two stripes in the middle. And I just spray really good. I don't go too heavy-handed because I don't want drips, but I do want good coverage. So now we're going to use Silver Lilac, and since this is the darkest color, I'm going to spray it on the bottom half of my tumbler. I always like spraying the darker color on the bottom for some reason. That's just how my mind works. So I am going to spray the Silver Lilac all over the very last stripe and about halfway up the second to last stripe. So the Silver Lilac is fading into the vintage blush. It's kind of hard to see in this lighting, but I'm trying to move it a little bit so you guys can see it. And the last color we're going to use is Rustic Pink. And I am going to spray this on the very top stripe and halfway down the second stripe. And after you spray the last color, if you need to touch up any of the other colors, you can definitely do that. And then once all of the spray paint is dry, we are ready for the next step. So now that my spray paint is dry, I am going to carefully remove all of the painter's tape. So even though our cup has white stripes in between it, you can definitely still see that ombre effect that we did with the spray paint, which I really, really like. So now that all the tape is off, we are going to move this to our turner and apply the glitter. So these are all of the tumblers that I did. This method, I added some of these to my mystery boxes this fall. So some of them you can see, I believe the 14 ounce, I actually substituted a beige color for the top color, and I really like how this one turned out as well. And I think for one of the 20 slims, I also did the beige at the top. So even if you cannot find these exact spray paint colors, you can definitely substitute to make them look really good as well. So for the epoxy, I am just adding basically a decent amount of epoxy. It's not going to be as much as if I were covering a cup with glitter, but I do want a good amount on there. Make sure your entire cup is covered, because I want that epoxy to soak up the glitter versus having the epoxy kind of lay on the surface of the epoxy. Because you can definitely get different looks with glitter application depending on how you apply the glitter, how much epoxy you use, all those sorts of factors. This is the torch I use. It is the big one from CCDIY, and I just torch each cup for one full rotation. I will typically count in my head because I know each turner takes about 14 seconds to rotate, so I usually just count 14 seconds per cup. So we're going to be using coconut snowball martini and a tea strainer to apply my glitter. Any opal iridescent you have on hand should work just as fine for this. And you guys can see that I am holding my tea strainer a little bit far away. It's not directly next to the cup, probably about 6 inches, I would say. And I am just sprinkling that glitter on the tumbler. And don't forget to cover your bottoms as well. I will typically just scoop some up and just kind of toss it on the bottom of my cup. So this is what we're going to do for all of our cups. Just sprinkling a little bit of that glitter all over the tumblers. You can also apply this glitter with clear spray paint. That is what I also use a lot. I do have several videos showing you guys how I apply my glitter with clear spray versus epoxy. And definitely not Mod Podge. That is the one adhesive I try to avoid if I can. And then once this epoxy cures, I will come back and we will apply another layer of epoxy to cover the glitter.
So now that the first coat of glitter and epoxy that we applied is cured, I am going back over with more epoxy and smoothing that over the tumblers as well. Now for the way that I applied my glitter this time, which is a lot of epoxy, not a lot of glitter. So the epoxy soaks up the glitter and already forms a super smooth surface. So I am only going to epoxy one time for these cups before I go back and add the vinyl decals, but that is only because it's already super smooth. If this was chunky glitter, or if I applied this glitter a different way, such as clear spray paint, or used less epoxy to apply the glitter, then I would probably need to do 2 coats. Every cup is going to be different basically, but you just want to make sure that your surface is going to be super smooth regardless of how many coats of epoxy you apply. If you need 2, go ahead and apply 2 more. And as always, after you apply epoxy, we are going to take our torch and pop as many bubbles as we can. Again, I just do 1 full rotation. Just to make sure that all of the bubbles are popped all the way around each cup. And after this layer of epoxy is cured, we are ready to apply our decals. So these cups are cured. I went ahead and sanded the tops and bottom edges. And I cut out some leopard spots and some leaves with this foiled vinyl. It's kind of hard to tell. And then I also cut some strips. And I get 2 layers of strips out of mine because I cut off the edges. So now every line is a strip, and I space them evenly apart so that they're all the same length. So I am just going to start by applying the rosy gold strips, and I am just following that glitter line. And I am going to do this all the way down the cup. And this vinyl, typically all of my vinyl, I do get at my local vinyl supplier, which is Perfect Press HTV, previously known as JSI Signs. They are my go-to for any vinyl. I believe that their plain 12 by 12 sheets of vinyl are only 50 cents. And I typically buy the gold that I use a lot, that everybody likes. I buy 15-foot rolls of that stuff, and I think it's only like $8 or $9 or something like that. They do ship. They usually ship the same or next day. If you guys are interested in a new vinyl supplier, I will link their website below. Some of these colors that I use, I'm not quite sure what they're called because they don't always have names at the store, and that's usually where I get all of my stuff. I typically don't order online unless I have to, but you can't go wrong with any of their colors. So now we are ready to apply the thinner strips. And for those of you that are wondering, for my thicker strips, I will typically make them around either 0.06 or 0.07. And then for the thinner strips I typically make them about 0.03, 0.035. And if you do not want to cut out these tiny little strips, you can also use nail tape. I do use that a lot as well. So I am just going and outlining the bronze strips that we just had so that the little pink strips are just on the white section of the glitter. So we are just doing this all the way down the cup. And if you guys would feel more comfortable using a guide with tape or something like that, you can definitely do that. I was just placing these strips pretty close to the rosy gold vinyl that we just applied, so I felt like I could get them pretty straight. And now that all of our strips are on, it is time to apply the leopard print and leaves. So this vinyl is actually the textured Cricut vinyl that you can pick up at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. It comes in a 3-pack of like a light gold, a bronze, and silver. And this is probably one of the only Cricut vinyls I actually use. Now JSI or Perfect Press HTV also has some of this textured vinyl, but it's kind of hit or miss. Sometimes I'll go in and they'll have several colors, and then sometimes I can't find it. But I do really like this vinyl because it gives a little bit of texture that does stay underneath epoxy. Now for the leaves, I did measure my stripes before I cut these out, so I knew that in order for the leaves or leopard print to kind of stay in between the white lines, they needed to be about an inch or smaller. So I wanted to space my leaves out a little bit. And I did just kind of eyeball this. You know, if you want to measure, get your ruler out, all that kind of stuff, you can definitely do that. I just wanted to eyeball it. Now for the second strip of leaves, I am going to go in between the leaves from the previous row. So they're kind of staggered. And then for the other layers, we're going to do leopard print. And I just kind of place these wherever. I kind of alternated between a larger piece and then a smaller piece. And some of my pieces did overlap the pink, really thin stripes that I applied, but I did not mind that. If you do not want your vinyl to overlap these little pink stripes, then you may want to shrink them to about 0.6, 0.7 maybe. So that way they're definitely smaller than the inch painter's tape. But I did really like this vinyl with these pinky colors. I just thought that this would be a really pretty fall cup that's not necessarily, you know, limited to just fall use, because it doesn't have your typical fall colors. And you guys can also see that when I cut out leaves or leopard print or stripes or anything small like that, I typically will cut out more than I need, just so I will have plenty of them whenever I need them. So I can definitely do more than one cup with this that I cut out. And then once this vinyl has had a chance to set for just a little bit and form that bond with the tumbler, I will put this on my turner, and I do coat it in quick coat 1 or 2 times and then epoxy it another 2 times over the vinyl, and it will be finished. So here are some completed pictures of the cups. I absolutely love how they turned out. I hope you guys really enjoyed this tutorial, and I cannot wait to see what kind of designs you guys come up with. If y'all enjoyed this tutorial or learned something new, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to catch the next video coming up that was picked just for you. As always, if you're looking for more tips, tricks, or tutorials, be sure to check out my tutorial group on Facebook or my Patreon group. Both are linked in the description. Thanks for watching.